Well, welcome everybody. My name is Gina Lazenby. I'm hosting this Conscious Cafe Global webinar this evening in UK time. And if you're joining us at another time zone, then greetings, welcome. We have a wonderful special guest tonight. We're so delighted to welcome Julia Cameron. I could say she needs no introduction, but of course I am going to introduce her. The New York Times called her the Queen of Change. She wrote a book in 1981, or at least published a book in 1991, The Artist's Way, which really was a publishing phenomenon. It created a start of a creative movement that brought creativity into the mainstream, made it a conversation in our lives and in business. And many people who are authors and playwrights and movie script writers have credited her with allowing them to express their creativity. In fact, Elizabeth Gilbert says, without The Artist's Way, there would be no Eat, Pray, Love, that wonderful book and film that we know. She's the copy of The Artist's Way has sold 5 million copies in 40 languages. And in total, Julia's written 40 books. She's a poet, songwriter, filmmaker, and playwright. And what she has now in her latest book is Living the Artist's Way, a spiritual path to higher creativity. And she's going to share with us how she uses this fourth tool from the Artist's Way to allow her to connect. And that's what she's going to share with us tonight, some insights. So Julia, a welcome. If we were in the room with you, we'd be applauding, but we're going to wave our hands and say, welcome, we love you, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Thank you. That's quite a stellar introduction. I find myself thinking, oh my God, this woman is so productive. I think I hate her. And what I'd like to do now is a little bit redundant. I want us to set an intention. And here's how it works. I'm going to count to 3. And when I get to 3, I would like each person in the class to set an intention for us to be happy, productive, fulfilled, satisfied, happy, productive, fulfilled, and satisfied. And that should work. All right, I'm going to count to 3 and then we'll set an intention. 1, 2, 3. Set your intention. Happy, fulfilled, productive, satisfied. That we have a wonderful class. That's my scoop. Okay. So I'm supposed to talk to you about guidance. And I think that the best place to start is to say, well, what is guidance? Guidance is wisdom that seems to come to us from a higher source. Wisdom that seems to come to us from a higher source. I'm going to tell you a little bit about how the book came to be. So bear with me. In 1991, I wrote The Artist's Way. I published it in 1992. And in that book, I said, if you're stuck, try asking for guidance. And I said, here's how I do it. I do LJ for little Julie. And then I say, can you give me help about X? And I list my question. I was very confident 30 years ago that if I did this, I would receive guidance. And so I wrote it down, those were the directions. And then what happened was that I went 30 years without mentioning guidance again. And it's essentially the fourth essential tool of the Artist's Way path. And how could I go 30 years without mentioning it again? And I think the answer to that is that I was afraid of seeming woo-woo. And woo-woo is otherworldly, new age, departing from the rational path, taking an intuitive path. And I thought that people would say, well, she had one good book, but I think frankly now Julia's a little bit cracked. And so I didn't want to seem cracked or crazy. So I simply kept guidance as a secret tool to myself. And I used it all the time. And I used it in all arenas of my life. But I didn't mention it to my readers. So what happened was that I began to feel like a liar, like I was withholding information. So then I thought, well, maybe it's time that I try talking about guidance. And so I put pen to page and I began writing on guidance. And what I found was that the information on guidance came easily. And it was a wonderful breakthrough book for me. And I found myself saying, oh, I guess it is time to break the silence. So I broke the silence. And I said, guidance is information that seems to come from a higher source. And then I asked myself, well, for 30 years, you've been using guidance, but you don't know who you're talking to. You're saying, please guide me. You're listening, you're writing it down. Please guide me about X. And you're listening to hear information about X. And as you do so, you find yourself feeling a benevolent something overarching everything, a benevolent kind something speaking back to me. And I said, well, who could this be? And I asked my friend Jacob Nordby, a fellow writer, if he got guidance. And he said, yes, I do. I get guidance every morning in writing. And I said, oh, that's wonderful. But who are you talking to? Are they angels? And he said, well, of course. So for Jacob, guidance came from angels. So then I asked my friend Scotty Pierce if she got guidance, and she said, I get up every morning at 3:30, which is god awful, and I sit quiet for over an hour, and I ask for my day to unfold with ease and comfort, ease and joy. And what I find is that it does. And I said, well, Scotty, who are you talking to? And she said, well, higher forces, maybe angels, maybe guides. I don't really know. So I thought, well, I'm going to ask myself. So I asked guidance in writing, as that's the form for writing for guidance. I asked, who are you? And the guidance did respond. And it said, Julia, we prefer to remain anonymous. So in 30 years, I have never had a straight answer from guidance about just who it is that I'm talking to. But I have had the experience of talking to something benevolent. And it's it's a wonderful experience. It's a direct and guided experience. So how does it work? So you take pen and paper, and this is important. Uh, if you put it on the page, you have a record of what your guidance responded. So you put on the page, what about X? And you ask your question. And then you listen. And when you listen, you hear a response. And it's a little bit like taking dictation. Words form in your consciousness, and you jot them down, and they are unfailingly kind. And so I think what happens with guidance is that it takes practice. That at first, when you're trying for guidance, you're listening and you're thinking, well, what if I don't hear anything? But with practice, you do hear. And you have a, a written record of just what it is you heard. So I think it's important to write guidance out rather than just speak it into the universe. And when you write it out, you find yourself able to go back and reread it and have it sort of sink into your psyche. And I think it's a wonderful thing to be able to have it sink into your psyche. And well, what I want to do is go through a list of questions that are commonly asked, and I'll try and answer them. And hopefully then you'll feel satisfied that others have gone before you with equal misgivings, and that they have found the answers to be satisfying. So I've answered why now, and the answer to that was because I was feeling like a liar and withholding information. And then I want to ask, well, how is it different from the artist's way? And especially with the two titles being so close together. So I think it's fair to say that The Artist's Way is a tool book, and it gives you tools to unlock your creativity. And Living the Artist's Way is a more, I would say, philosophical book. It leads by example. I go through the book and I have a record of all the arenas that I asked for help for. And I think that it's a good thing to have a record. And it leads by example. I I have set in italics in the book the guidance that I received, and it allows you to trace back through and see the guidance for yourself. And hopefully it's enticing. You'll say, well, if she can do it, maybe I can do it. And so then you'll find yourself asking for guidance. And at first, it takes practice. You ask for guidance and then you listen. And you may only hear a wee peeping cry, just a squeak of guidance. But then as you ask for guidance again, that squeaky little, what we call the still small voice, becomes amplified, and you begin to hear more clearly. And then you begin to say, well, Julia, what if it's just my imagination? And the answer is, well, if it is your imagination, then your imagination is much more powerful and benevolent than you had previously thought. So this book asks a question, what if it's just my imagination? And it answers it, what if it's not? And so I think, what if it's not, is the core of the book. So I think people may say, well, Julia, when do I ask for guidance? And the answer is whenever anything is pressing on you. And I think for myself, I tend to do my morning pages. And I should explain what morning pages are. They're a tool from the Artist's Way, which are 3 pages of longhand morning writing about absolutely anything and everything. So it's as if you have a little whisk broom and you whisk it into the corners of your life and you bring the debris and rubble into the center of the room where you can possibly deal with it. So morning pages are a form of petition. You're saying to the universe, oh, please pay attention. This is what I like. This is what I don't like. this is what I want more of. This is what I want less of. And you're sending a telegram to the universe that tells it your precise coordinates. You're saying, I am exactly here, and here is exactly how I feel. So you do this, it's a daily practice. You do morning pages every day. And what happens is that they set the stage for guidance. Because with morning pages, you are essentially being humble. You're sort of presenting yourself to your higher power with an attitude of humility. You're saying, please help me. And then what happens is you get an issue and you say, please help me about X. And X is guidance. So you write down, please help me about X, and you write your issue down. And when you write your issue down, you listen. And what you hear back is something that's direct, kind, straightforward, and available to anyone. So I think writing guidance right after morning pages is a wonderful practice. However, you can write guidance really at any time of the day. Let's say it's noon, and you write to guidance, what should I do next? And your guidance responds, sweetheart, eat. And you find yourself nibbling lunch, and it gives you a sense of direction. Or you can find yourself writing guidance late at night, and you find yourself saying, what do I need to know? And listening. And sometimes it's very direct, and it says, well, you need to know X, and it gives you excellent advice. So I think asking for guidance at any time of the day or night is a fine habit to get into. And I think it brings you peace and reassurance. And I think it brings you a sense of direction. So can you ask for guidance on anything? Yes, you can ask for guidance on anything. And when you do, you will find that guidance has answers on anything. So you might ask about romance, finance, nutrition, exercise, many different things. And when you ask for guidance on these topics, guidance responds on these topics. Although sometimes guidance tells you more than you thought you needed to know. I asked for guidance about my writing, and that was a central issue for me. What about my writing? And I heard back, your sobriety is solid. And I thought, what does sobriety have to do with writing? And then I realized I have for 42 years been a sober alcoholic, and it has had everything to do with writing. So it was an issue that was underlying my writing that guidance knew about, and wanted to remind me to be conscious. So that was a wonderful thing. So people are sometimes afraid to ask for guidance. They worry that they're going to hear something that they won't like. And I think it's fair to say that in my experience, guidance has always been benevolent. And well, I will give you an example. 45 years ago, I got divorced from my first husband. And I didn't want to get divorced. I was still in love with him, but he had had an affair, and I thought, well, the only thing possible to do here is get divorced. So it's 45 years later, and I'm thinking about this first husband, and I have a feeling of great warmth. And I realized, oh my God, it's 45 years later, and I still love him. And then I thought, oh, Julia, how codependent. Shouldn't you be over it by now? 45 years is an awfully long time to carry a torch. And so I went to guidance and said, guidance, it's an awfully long time to carry a torch. And guidance responded, love is eternal. And so I found myself thinking, oh, I guess I'm supposed to continue loving him, and not feel guilty about it. So that was what happened. I found myself continuing to love him, and continuing to feel a, a sense of ease and comfort in that fact. So I found myself saying, well, I didn't think that I wanted to hear this. And guidance was wiser than myself. And it responded with, you may not want to hear it, but it's a fact. So that's my experience with guidance telling me something that I didn't think I wanted to know. So guidance in cozy retrospect, I think that's a good phrase, in cozy retrospect, is always benevolent. And so the benefits that come from guidance are clarity, hope, benevolence, clarity, hope, and benevolence. And they are very profoundly comforting. So if you're sitting out in the audience today wondering, well, how do I know if something is guidance? The answer is, does it make you feel clear? Does it make you feel comforted? Does it seem benevolent? And if it has those three things, then you can safely say, oh, that's guidance. So I'd like to take a break now and have us go into what I call clusters, which are little groups of 3 or 4. And I want you to ask this question and discuss it in your group, which is, how do I recognize guidance? Have you ever had the experience of guidance? Have you recognized it as guidance? Have you been comforted by it? So just take a little peek at yourself and say, well, maybe I know more about guidance than I think. Okay, so it's about a 6-minute cluster. And here we go.
Just let me pause the recording.
Okay, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed your cluster. We will be doing a couple more clusters during the course of the day and the evening rather. And I hope you start to recognize that you don't only learn from the teacher, but you learn from your peers. And uh, I think you sometimes learn more from your peers. Okay, so uh, I I want to say we sometimes think guidance is difficult, but really it's very easy to just listen. And I think I have good advice from my friend Jeanette Aycock, who says to me always, focus on the positive. And so when I ask for guidance, I ask for guidance on the positive. And it's a wonderful practice, and uh, it helps me feel more secure. And I think what you will find with guidance is that it helps you feel more secure. And it's a positive practice. And I think it's helpful here to pause and if everybody would focus for a second, I'm going to give you a serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. So I think that what guidance does is it helps you to sort out what things you cannot change and you need to accept, and the things that you need to change and you need the courage to change, and having the wisdom to know the difference. So it's a sorting tool, and it's a benevolent one. So what you're trying to do is what in 12-step language we call let go and let God. And you may find that when guidance flows to you, when you use the serenity prayer, that it says, little one, they are sweet. Little one, you are on track and much goodness flows to you. Focus on the positive. So what I find when I try and focus on the positive is that sometimes I have doubt. And I get asked, is it normal to doubt guidance sometimes? And I think the answer is yes. It's perfectly normal to doubt guidance sometimes. Guidance is a part of our spiritual DNA. And your guidance is reliable, but your temperament is not. And what I have found is that guidance tends to have doubt, not when it's negative, which it never is, but when it's positive. When your guidance is too positive, we tend to doubt it. It's as if, well, we all have a ceiling of what is acceptable good for us. And if the guidance suggests something that bumps the ceiling, then we have doubts. We don't want to be gullible. We don't want to be, I'm looking for a word here. We don't want to be gullible. We don't want to feel that we are being sold a bill of goods. And I think that doubt crops up when something seems too good to be true. And I have found in my teaching that it is too good to be true that causes us to doubt. So I think it's normal to doubt, and it's part of our spiritual DNA. It's part of the human condition. And so you shouldn't worry when you're seeking guidance if you find yourself doubting. Say to yourself, well, that's normal. And don't worry about it. And I think it's fair to say that guidance takes practice. That we have we have an acceptable limit. And if we're violating that limit, we have doubt. And if we're violating that limit, we have a sense of being out of control. And the experience of guidance is an experience of being out of control. So I think that it's possible to train yourself to feel out of control and then to feel okay about it. And I think that as you train yourself to feel okay about it, you find yourself having faith. And faith is something, again, that takes practice. So you are practicing faith when you are practicing guidance. So I think guidance can be asked on any topic. And as you ask on any topic, you'll experience an answer on any topic. And as you experience the answer, you practice faith. And I think that it's a learned muscle. And I think that when you start practicing guidance, you find yourself feeling out of control, as I've said, and feeling that your need for control is an illusion. All of us at times have an experience of feeling in control. And that's when things are sort of going our way. And then a gear slips, and we find ourselves feeling, well, I'm powerless in this situation. And you're powerless over other people because they have free will, which seems to me to be one of God's big mistakes. And so they have free will, and you experience feeling out of control because you have an outcome that you desire, and it doesn't seem to be working out. And I think I think I think I think that it's a feeling of surrender that's called for. And surrender is when we are out of control and we feel okay about that. And feeling okay about being out of control takes practice. So, and I think one of the things that happens when we feel out of control, and before we are practiced enough to feel secure that way, is that we feel anxious. And that when we feel anxious, we feel that we can't hear our guidance. And our guidance is interrupted by static. And so when we have an experience of anxiety, we need to reach for calm. And as we reach for calm, we find ourselves feeling, okay, I surrender. I'm out of control, and that's all right. And life without guidance is deadly. And I think that sounds dramatic, but that's been my experience, that if you have a feeling of guidance, you will feel secure. And if you don't have a feeling of guidance, you will feel insecure. And I'd like us to make another cluster. And this time we're going to do a cluster on anxiety. And here are the questions I'd like you to take into the cluster. I am anxious about, and talk about what it is you have anxiety about. And then subtle difference, worry. I worry that. And this time we're going to do a very brief cluster, just 4 minutes. And you're going to ask, I'm anxious about, and you're listing your anxieties, and then you're worrying about, and you're listing your worries. And at the end of that time, I want you to imagine that you feel secure and answer the question, if I felt secure, I would trust that. If I felt secure, I would trust that. Okay, so anxious, worries, and then imagining myself feeling secure and trusting. Okay, we're going to go into clusters now.
So 4 minutes for clusters of 3. I'm going to put us into 28 rooms. Stop recording for a second.
Bravo. Did it feel good to air your anxiety and your worry? I think so, especially when you're then able to imagine being secure. Okay. Guidance is a form of acute listening. And I think that as you practice guidance and you're saying, what about X, and listening, then you are beginning to be able to hear. And you hear what I call the still small voice. And it's you might want to call it the voice of God or the voice of higher forms, the voice of higher forces. And I think I think that you learn to ask, what is God up to here? It takes a form of curiosity. And as you are curious, you'll hear further answers. So if you worry like I do about being too woo-woo, you need to look at your guidance and see that in fact your guidance is grounded, and that it is a form of listening that takes you out of your present state and into a state of awareness. So I think you don't need to worry about being too woo-woo. You need to worry about, am I being woo-woo enough? And the answer is frequently no. You need to trust more. And so living deliberately a day at a time is the answer to how you feel more grounded. And I think feeling more grounded is something that gives you a sense of security. And you need to give yourself a break and stop pushing. And you need to learn to relax. And relaxation is one of the benefits of guidance, that as you relax, you find yourself feeling more and more secure. So I think I think that a lingering worry is something that guidance can address. If you have a lingering worry, as we did in the cluster when we said, I'm still worried about X, you can ask guidance, I'm still worried about X. What about it? And you will find that guidance gives you a gentle and direct answer. And I think the gentleness and the directness is something that you come to expect. And you begin to feel like I can go to guidance with an issue, and I will come back with an answer. And the answer that I come back with will be gentle. And I think looking for gentleness is something that all of us can benefit from. And I think looking for gentleness comes to be an expectation. So you might say that what you're doing is you're inviting calm. And you're working on patience. And you're working on an expectation of benevolence. And when you work on all those things, you begin to find yourself feeling secure. And secure is what you need more than anything. And there are a series of questions that I'd like to ask, and I'd like you to answer them in your own words. So the first question is, what do I need to know? So what do you think you need to know? And you're listening for guidance. What do I need to do? And very often the answer is nothing. The third question is, what do I need to grieve? What do I need to grieve? And in my case, I needed to grieve that I still loved the first husband. The fourth question is, what do I need to accept? And the answer was that I did still love him. What do I need to accept? And the final question is, what do I need to celebrate? What do I need to celebrate? So we need to learn to accept good. And this is what guidance teaches us over and over again. It teaches us we need to accept good. It has a mantra which it speaks at all times. And that mantra is, Julia, all is well. So your name, and then all is well. And you might find yourself thinking at first, what do you mean all is well? But all is well comes over time to be seen to be true. So in cozy retrospect, all is well is something that we can come to believe. Then we can accept more good in our life. So is there an area in your life where you feel you need human support? Ask for guidance. Is there an area in my life where I need human support? And again, when you're home alone, you're writing these questions out. Is there an area in my life where I need human support? And then you're listening for guidance. Is there an area, a friend I can reach out to just for connection? Is there a friend I can reach out to just for connection? I wish I could be more gentle with myself. And then the question would be, how can I be more gentle with myself? And you're listening for an answer. I'm going to give you 5 questions and mentally answer them as if you're listening for guidance. So, number 1, I hope. What do you hope? Number 2, I hope. What do you hope? Number 3, I hope. What do you hope? Number 4, I hope. What do you hope? Number 5, I especially hope. What do you especially hope? So when we are looking for guidance, we are looking for a sense of hope and a sense that our lives intermesh with the gears of destiny. And if that sounds a little pretentious, it feels very good when you have that experience, when you have the experience that your life intermeshes with the fields, the gears of destiny. And one way you can tell that it's doing this is to look for synchronicity. And synchronicity is when your life and the events in your life seem to go together with the events in the world at large. So having a sense of destiny gives you a sense that you are in fact being guided. I'd like to back up for just a second and say, how do you tell the difference between guidance and morning pages? And I think that the answer is morning pages are personal and sort of meandering. and guidance is direct. So does guidance repeat itself? I think you find that guidance does repeat itself. When you ask, what about X? It responds with an answer, and that answer responds over and over again, so that you begin to have a, a firm sense of just what's happening. So I think it's time. And I want to thank you all for being with me and bearing with me with my long and thoughtful pauses as I search to find exactly the right words to convey what I mean. And what I want to say is, please try guidance. Please give it a shot. Please practice it. And see if you don't find your life feeling lighter and happier. Thank you.
Julia, wonderful. I especially liked you talking about how you kept things secret and worrying about the woo-woo. And then you said, you said to us, are we being woo-woo enough? I love that, because to encourage us to, whatever we call it, be woo-woo is brilliant. There's a whole movement in science and consciousness about being weird, and that is bringing the magic in, and now is the time. So it's lovely. We're all going to be woo-woo now. And I love the discipline of this, because, to go to guidance, to write occasionally, to ask questions, but this very disciplined approach really builds this muscle. And that's what you've explained in detail. So thank you so much. I think we're all going to give you our Conscious Cafe thank you. We can't hear, but we know we're sending you love and gratitude and thank you. And I'm going to bring Judy on now. Can I find Judy in the view? Judy gallery. Where's Judy? Oh, Judy, where are you? I can't find her.
Thank you.
I've got you, got you. She's got the board, lovely.
Hi, Gina.
Yeah.
Well, I'm lucky because I got to read a copy of Julia's new book, Living the Artist's Way, before the event. And I thoroughly recommend it to everyone. It will give you so much to think about and reflect on, and hopefully will encourage you to live as Julia does, the artist's way with spiritual guidance. Thank you so much, Julia. It's just been wonderful.